Hi, everybody. It's Mike from Here the Watchmen coming to you this Monday morning with something very special. August 19th, the very first episode that we're going to have on the show here called Money Mondays, where we're going to talk about, as Christians, how to be good stewards of our money. You know, the Lord tells us in the Bible that we have to be good stewards of our money. He puts even further requirements upon those of us in ministry to be good stewards and stewardship of money. But what does that really mean? So we're going to dive into that each Monday from now on. And this particular Monday, I decided to kick the whole thing off by having one of my go-to people, just an amazing young man, to who he was a sponsor of Hear the Watchman in Dallas, Texas. It's Mr. Mike Weiner. Mike, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
You know, Mike, I just want to I want to give our folks here a little something. You know, Mike is an incredible wealth of knowledge about wealth preservation. He is what I would call one of the leaders in the industry. He is a Washington insider, so to speak. Uh, I fully endorse Mike and Swiss America, and I am telling you, there are some very unscrupulous people out there, even in our own little Christian circle, some of whom are people who we all know who are very public and seem real wonderful and nice and warm and fuzzy on the outside, and then you do business with them and they throw you in the garbage can. That's not Mike. Mike is a guy that stand up. He's a good man. He's a good Christian man, and he's there to help you. Mike, talk to us, if you will, a little bit about, before we get into the economy and all of that, what do you think that Jesus meant when he said, be a good steward of your money?
Well, I think making sure that you don't live frivolously, that you don't go out and just spend your money based on greed and desire of wanting unnecessary things, the fanciest car, the biggest, fanciest piece of jewelry, the biggest house, all the things that are not necessary, but they play into greed and lust and all the rest of it. And that's the same people that when there's a problem economically that land up losing everything, not because they didn't have enough money, but because of the fact that they weren't responsible with what they had, not putting away, not basing some of their money on something to protect themselves, because most of the people that you deal with have families. And when they do all these things, you know, children live the life that their parents supply them. And if that life is full of just unnecessary gifts and toys and the rest, what lesson did they learn? And what lesson do they learn when unnecessarily that door is closed? It might breed other things to happen that makes them make mistakes in life. So I think it goes back to the formation of the country. The people who founded this country wanted us to be backed by gold because they did not want the people who ran the country to spend more money than they had gold available to do so. And we lived very comfortably under that until 1971 when we went off the gold standard. We went from a debt-free country to a debt-ridden country. Right now, $23 trillion in debt. So there's very little reality there right now to what's going on. And that same thing in your life. I think what the Bible is referring to is responsibility. It's a good, clean life. And to bring one thing up, when you're talking about the other companies in the industry, Swiss America has been around for almost 40 years. I've always believed in one thing in life. Less is not necessarily more. And when it's too good to be true, it isn't. You know, the reality is we have a 40-year A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. Not 40 weeks, not 3 years, but 40 years. That's a pretty good track record. We operate our company very simply on truth and honesty, and that handles that. But again, I think when you look at the situation of being financially responsible and following what the Bible talks about, I think when you take the unnecessarily goodies that go on and 10 pair of shoes versus all you need is two and all the other stuff, therein lies the issue.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, the consumerism, what we're forced down our throat. Jeannie and I have no debt. If we can't buy it, if we can't pay cash for it, then we can't afford it, kind of a thing, including our home. I mean, and it's just what we see in America today is just this: I want it now. Here, borrow money, take it now. And the Bible tells us if you borrow money, then you're a slave to the person that you borrow from. And so we want to try and get you not to do that, folks. Now, Mike, the economy today, last week we saw what happened, craziness. There's a lot of people out there that are very confused and don't understand why gold. How can gold help me to get through these times?
You know, it's real interesting. You just said something quite interesting about a slave to the people who borrow it to you. What does your money say? Your money right now says note at the top of it. It's not backed by anything. You don't have anything to it. So literally, who are you indebted to? Who are you literally enslaved to at this point in time? The government. Maybe that's why the people who set up this country did not want that to happen. He did not, and they did not want us to be enslaved to the people running this country. And instead, where are we right now? And you have all your money in paper assets. Who owns you? Okay, the idea of owning gold is having something that is financial freedom. I mean, if you ever think about it, Mike, what do you own that you don't have to go to somebody and hope to get your money for it? Be it cash in the bank, be it a stock certificate, be it an annuity, be it in whatever the vehicle might be, you've got to walk into the bank and hope that teller gives you the money. We're all hearing about people who go to banks and don't get their money or don't have it, or they're 1,000 questions about it. They seem to think they're your partner versus your banker. So it's a different world that we live in. And I think that at this point in time, gold is an anchor in your portfolio. It's the one thing you own that you don't need to say, Mother, may I, to somebody to get my hands on it. It is liquid and is looked upon. When they talked about the last few weeks of all this insanity in the markets, you turn on the TV every morning and everything that they would always say is the people are turning to a safe haven. And the first thing they say is gold. Why? Because it's reality. Okay?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up about cash in the banks and all that. I happened to watch a show the other night on television, and the character was it a I mean it was not a Christian show, but the character needed his $3 million out of the bank, and he called them 2 days in advance, and I said, I want my $3 million in cash. And they were like, I can't give you the cash. And he said, I want the cash. And so he goes down to the bank, and when he gets to the bank, he's greeted by some people from the Fed and the FBI and the bank president. And they say, well, you can't have your cash. And he said, it's my cash. I want my cash. That could very easily happen. I mean, and that's why gold is such a wonderful item to have in terms of security. Now, I wish I had $3 million in gold. I don't, but, you know, I do have some. And I suggest all of you talk to Mike about getting it. Mike, where do you see this country in the next year, let's say prior to the election and then after the election? What do you think we're going to see?
Well, I mean, I think we're at a pivotal point of decision right now. We see the lack of moral fiber that we see in the Democrats. I don't believe they're Democrats. I look at them as socialists. And we see, for example, the news media, who are probably just as much a socialist as the people they're talking to. They are almost like an echo of whatever they say. And we sit back and recently look at what just happened the other day as it relates to Israel. Israel was protecting itself from two women who have gone as far to say that in many cases that the situation with the Germans and what happened with the World War II never happened. And they try to sit back and say that Israel is the bad guy when they're surrounded by bad guys, and there's no middle ground. And yet they were willing to go there and cause havoc in that country. As this isn't the United States, where right now we seem to allow havoc. They don't, and that's because they could fit their country into Connecticut. I mean, they're living in it every day, wondering if they'll survive the next. So. Right now, I think that we're at a pivotal point in this election. Donald Trump has given us a reprieve. We have seen them accusing him almost like of shoplifting when he was never in the store. As a matter of fact, they're finding out there wasn't any store by, by this Steele dossier garbage. I mean, all this was created as a means of discrediting somebody. And even if he's good, bad, or indifferent, at least give him a break. I mean, I can't think of how many times in the past we had people elected to office and say, all right, give him a chance. They never gave him a chance. Never. And I think that his spiritualism has been seen. His support for Israel has been seen. His support for Christianity has been seen. I think the other people are so far removed from that that it's scary. So I think that the next 2 years are less than that are going to be very telling. If the socialist Democrats win, God help us. And I think that would mean that you would want to make sure that you're protected. And if Donald Trump wins, I still think that there'll be more of a reason to move towards financial security, because I think there's still going to be games afoot, and the world is at a state of turmoil because of many different things. Things that we see coming out of the Catholic Church make no sense in anybody's common thought. I mean, what this Pope's coming up with. But I think that we are in need of taking one step back and taking more control of our life. It'll be hugely important if the Socialist Democrats win, because that's what I call them, or it'll be important if Donald Trump wins, because he recognizes, as Ronald Reagan did, hard assets.
Well, you know, Mike, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we had Bernie Sanders come out. I believe it was over the weekend. It was reported. I think I saw it in Drudge or Daily Mail UK, where he made a statement that said Christianity is offensive to Muslims, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought that the Muslim faith was offensive to Christian. I mean, we're not telling them we'll cut their heads off, you know. And so we've got all this craziness in the world going on. We see it happening. There was also an article on MSN that listed all the countries that had gone bankrupt and showed that their notes were now worth nothing. So, you know, their treasury bills, for instance, they don't call them treasury bills, were worthless. So that's another reason that you need to go and you need to diversify your portfolio and speak to someone like Mike. There is no shame in going to someone like Mike Weiner and telling him, Mike, I don't know what to do and I'm afraid. He will not say to you, well, you should know what to do. I mean, don't you listen to us? He won't do that. He'll sit down with you and he'll calmly go over what it is that you need to do. Mike, why is it that you chose to get into this field, and what is it most that you like about what you do today?
Well, you know, the reality is that you know, I went into this industry back in the mid '70s when it was just in formation. So at the end of the day here right now, at this point of time, it's been a very rewarding career because of the fact that at least the people that I deal with at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, they have something. They're never going to be worthless. They're never going to wake up in the morning and find out that they've lost everything. It's not going to happen. Whereas in other instances, we are seeing people like in 2008 who lost it all, or lost half of it. Some of them still haven't recovered. Whereas in my industry, I take pleasure in the fact of dealing with God's money, because at least I know in my mind that people have something that will always hold value and will protect them, and that they are the captain of the ship and I'm the first mate. When you think about it, I had a client the other day, a woman who called her broker up to get some help, and he yelled and screamed at her, as many brokers do with people, older clients, as a means of controlling them. I don't control my clients. They've got their gold. I don't hold it for them. We don't send them a picture or a piece of paper. So at the end of the day, they don't need me, theoretically. They can sell it elsewhere, or Swiss America does get involved in buying back and hasn't missed a buyback in 40 years. But they're the captain of the ship. I am the first mate, literally. And that's how I look at it. You know, to me, I guess my statement, as it might be, is it's been a very rewarding career. Yes, the markets have gone up and gone down. That's the whole story of called fluctuation. But 35, almost 40 years ago or more, when I started off in the industry, and gold was, $35 to $50 an ounce, and people would say, "Well, your doors must have been totally off the hook, just everybody trying to get in touch with you." It's totally opposite. People sat back in those days and say, "Why should I own gold? I can buy General Motors stock for $45 or $50. It pays me dividends, the biggest company in the world." Yada yada yada. Well, in that 40-year period or more, gold's gone up almost 60 times in value, and General Motors is gone. They're toilet paper. Yep. They don't exist anymore. Yeah. So overall, gold will go up, and it's been worthwhile to see that journey. Some people get involved with gold to speculate. They want to bet on the price, just like to go to the horse races. We're not involved with that. We're not involved with speculation. We're involved in growth and asset preservation, not speculating. That's not, if it's all you want to do is bet on the price, don't bother even to call us. It's a waste of your time.
Well, Mike, I know you're really busy, and I want to let you go, but I've got two things I want to ask you. First is, a lot of people question the liquidity behind gold because they say, like, well, yeah, it's great. I have my gold coin here, but I can't go to the grocery store and cash it in. How do you address that?
Well, gold with Swiss America is a liquid asset that we can legitimately buy them out of, but they can also sell it anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. They buy it in banks in Europe right now. They buy it in banks in China right now. You can walk in there with your gold. They buy it in South America banks, but they also have coin shops, pawn shops, and everything else. I can assure you, if I walk into a coin shop with a bunch of gold coins, and you walk in with a bunch of stock certificates, I'm leaving with whatever the paper money is that day, and you're going home with nothing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I agree. And that's it, folks. It really, truly is liquid. Well, Mike, listen, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Tell us, how do people get a hold of you?
You call our 800 number, 877-864-1072. Again, 877-864-1072. And one thing I'll leave you with, in 1984 and then in 1986, a gentleman created the Gold IRA program. In the Wall Street Journal 3.5 or 4 weeks ago, there was an article, and if anybody wants a copy of it, I'll give it to them, talked about the government's desire to take over and change the retirement program. Why do they want to do that? There's $30 to $50 trillion in retirement plans, and they're salivating to get their hands on it. Ronald Reagan set up gold IRAs where you can physically own gold in an IRA because he wanted Americans to own something that the government didn't have direct access to. And remember, Ronald Reagan was the one who said the government's not the solution, the government's the problem. So there is something else that people should be very aware of. If you are looking to protect your savings and what you put away for your retirement, you can sit back and restructure or change your IRA without a tax burden at all to a gold-backed IRA where it's not in the immediate power of the government to get access to it, which to me is very important.
Well, again, Mike, thank you so much for being with us, folks. Don't waste your time going to some of these other people that you see on TV at like midnight. Go out to Swiss America, talk to Mike, be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mike, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Money Mondays here on the Watchman's Report. Until we see you next time, be good stewards of your money, learn, listen, pay attention. Be blessed. We'll see you next time here on the Watchman's Report.
It is hard to ignore some of the troubling reports seen daily that span all along the West Coast. How a place with 58,000 homeless people can continue to function. The investigation revealing trash littered across every block says the Golden State has the worst quality of life in the nation.
Cast out the devils, he heals the sick, and he raises the dead. greatest opportunities in human history are here upon us. That's the good news we've got tonight.
Psalm 89. O Yahweh, God of hosts, who is mighty as you are, O Yahweh, with your faithfulness all around you.
We're in the most critical time period in all of history. If the church rose up, we could change the country.